Hello, students. Welcome to Module 1, and congratulations for making it through the first week. So as you can see, my background is the shower. Now, what might you ask? Does the shower have to do with the topics that we're taking on for this week? We're taking on an overview of design and diversity in the US. Well, actually, it has a lot to do with our topics. The shower is something that we all take for granted. I shouldn't say we all, but most of us take for granted. It was invented in 1767 by William Feetham. That's a funny name, Feetham. But was not really a part of our culture until the 1920s. And even then, its availability greatly depended upon who you were. It depended upon your race, ethnicity, your gender, your income, your social status, age, your ability or disability, and yes, even your religion. Unlike today, the frequency of bathing also varied depending upon one's situation. Some people bathed seasonally, some monthly or weekly, and it was quite rare up until the 1960s for people to shower daily. Before the arrival of the Europeans, indigenous peoples' bathing methods varied among tribes and cultures. So some used natural water resources such as lakes, rivers, and waterfalls, which we might think about as nature's shower. Some groups on the plains use steam baths and sweat lodges for cleansing. Depending upon location, other groups used herbs and plants, and still others used sand, earth, and clay. I don't know if you've ever been to the beach and you need to clean off your hands. You grab a handful of sand and rub it, and that helps to clean yourself. Okay, before indoor plumbing became prevalent in the US, common methods of bathing included tub bathing for those who could afford it, wooden barrel baths, basin and pitcher setups where you'd have a big bowl and a water pitcher, and then you'd pour water over yourself, sponge baths. Public baths were prevalent in more urban areas. And then in rural areas, people used rivers, lakes, and streams. Bathing habits varied widely depending upon the factors such as socioeconomic status, geographic location, weather, and cultural practices. So during winter, or in areas where water wasn't as readily available, people generally bathed less frequently than is common in our modern societies, our modern Western societies, I should say. The introduction of indoor plumbing in the late 19th and early 20th centuries marked a significant shift in making personal hygiene more convenient and accessible for a larger portion of our population. The early shower designs were simple and they lacked temperature controls. So we were in that situation where we were taking cold showers. By the mid-20th century, advancements such as temperature controls, adjustable nozzles, and improved water pressure became standard features. Probably all of us have been in situations where we're in a shower and there's not much water pressure, so it's just sort of drip, drip, drip. And that is a very annoying kind of situation. Well, that was pretty common in the early part of the 20th century. Now, the 1950s and the 60s saw widespread adoption of showers in residential settings. Prior to that, tubs were a little bit more common. However, during the first part of the century and well into the latter part, those living in poverty often did not, especially in the South, often did not have running water, so showers were not available to them. In the latter half of the 20th century, showers became a daily routine for many Americans. However, as awareness of water conservation grew, there was this increased emphasis on efficient shower heads and water-saving practices. And in more recent decades, there's been a trend towards kind of moving away from that. There's been this trend towards larger and more luxurious showers, often resembling spa-like environments. So you might see multiple shower heads, body jets, flashing colored lights sometimes. Sometimes there are sound systems in the shower. And all these kinds of advanced technologies have become common features especially in high-end residential bathrooms. So throughout its history, showering has evolved from a very basic and functional activity to a more sophisticated and personalized experience, especially for those who can afford it. The history, though, of showering in the US reflects our changes in technology and cultural attitudes towards hygiene and in environmental awareness. So there you have it. Now you know why I'm speaking to you from the shower today. Okay, now on to our work. In this first module, we are introducing you to the concepts of diversity and design in both an historical and contemporary sense. We also are explaining why it is important to study the relationship between diversity and design. As you probably know, all of the materials for the first module are in the folder on UV Learns. And we're asking you to do the following. First, watch or read the transcript for the overview. So that's this video document. Then look at the objectives for this week's module. The objectives are one of the things that we use to develop the quiz questions. So if you kind of keep those by your side when you are looking at the materials for the week, that should help you to understand what we're going for in terms of quizzing and discussion. Then look at what's due. You will have quizzes due on Sunday night. You will have critical thinking discussion responses due first on Thursday night, because you need to respond first and post your response. And then you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to read and respond to what other students posted. And so that's how we'll get a discussion going in the critical thinking. So moving back from the critical thinking, if you think about the sequence of things, the first thing that you need to do is then, after you've looked at the objectives and this video, then you take on the first chapter from Hello World, which really gives you a good historical background about the meaning of the word design. And then you take on the introductory text from Diversity and Design. That's the book that I wrote along with a couple of my colleagues for this course. Now, we're not requiring that book. We just use a few pieces from it for you, and those are posted on UV Learn. So don't worry about buying any required text. And then finally, but this is very important, look at the PowerPoint or the PDF. I've put both forms in there on critical thinking, and particularly look at this method called the See It method. That See It method is what you're going to use when you respond to your critical thinking questions. Okay, so once you've completed all of the activities for the week, then you can take the 10-question quiz, which will cover all the materials for this week. Plus, I've thrown in a couple of questions about the syllabus and a couple of questions about that introductory video from last week. Now, keep in mind that we have a pool of questions that we've developed for this module, and we randomize those. So each of you will only get 10 of those questions from the much larger pool. So if you're working with somebody next to you, the question that you're getting on the quiz might be different than the questions that they're getting. All right. And then finally, you're going to go on to this module 1 critical thinking question, where you start to address the question that we posed to you for this week in your discussion group. And then finally, Each week we post something pertaining to diversity in design that is either fun or it's interesting, but it doesn't require any work on your part. So that's just for you to enjoy. But we enjoy putting them together. And if you have something you want to add into that, by all means, send it our way. Okay, so that's it. We hope that the activities for the module this week introduce you to some new ideas and some new ways of thinking. So have a great week, enjoy the work, and if you have any questions, always let us know. Oh, one more thing, I just want to let you know this. All the modules are posted on Monday morning at 9 a.m. and they close on Sunday night at 10 p.m. So if you're trying to figure out what the schedule is, 9 a.m. Monday through 10 p.m. Sunday, because you do need to get some sleep on Sunday night, right? Okay, thanks. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.